Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. My most drafted quarterbacks for 2022 fantasy football drafts, best ball season long. I've done over 100 drafts so far. It is the 9th of August. I know I draft a lot during the summer, but this is what I do. I create content around fantasy football. So if I'm going to give you the best content, I have to log as many real money drafts as I can between Underdog and DraftKings to give you the best in-depth advice that I possibly can from my own personal experiences. So if you've been watching the videos on this channel, you kind of have an idea of which players I'm suggesting, and then I'm going to give you this list. There's going to be 3 quarterbacks that I've drafted, 3 elite quarterbacks, and then 3 guys from the QB2 list that are my highest percentage allocations across all of the drafts that I've done. So thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, leave me a comment down below with who your most drafted quarterbacks are so far, and maybe who would you like to pick up moving forward. And we've got like 4 weeks left until kickoff. I can't wait for week 1 of NFL. So let's go.
He's a legend.
In the elite range of quarterbacks, right? Guys that are in the top 12, the QBs 1 through QB 12, top 10, however you want to identify the elite quarterbacks in drafts. My number 1 allocation, the guy that I have clicked more than any other quarterback in that group, has been Russell Wilson. I'm at 21% allocation of Russell Wilson. And based on the fact that you guys know that I'm a correlator when it comes to my quarterbacks, specifically in tournament best ball. I want to get stacks, double stacks. I want to have my lineups make sense, correlate with them, and then possibly have a bring back in the playoff weeks. So a lot of my quarterbacks are tied to a lot of the wide receivers that I'm more apt to draft. So if you check out way up there, if you check out the top wide receivers videos that I've done, you'll know that I've been very high on Courtland Sutton. When his ADP was lower than Jerry Jeudy, and then as he eclipsed Jerry Jeudy, I've been drafting a lot of Jerry Jeudy. I don't really, I pay for the price. I pay for the ADP. So when Sutton was the value, I was drafting Sutton. When Sutton became the more hyped player of that duo, I've been drafting more Jeudy as he's been the bigger value. I think that both of them are 1 and 1A. In this Denver Broncos offense, I expect Russell Wilson to be very, very good, which, you know what? That's what he's been pretty much every single year. I think that the narrative around let Russ cook, right? We all wanted Russ to be able to throw the ball more in Seattle. Let him drop back 40, 45 times a game, every single game. Let him throw the ball downfield. Don't be a running first offense, Pete Carroll. It didn't always come to fruition on a week in, week out basis. However, he has been one of the most efficient quarterbacks, like the second most efficient quarterback when it comes to touchdown percentage over the course of his career of all quarterbacks since like 1980. Aaron Rodgers is 1, and like 0.1 percentage point behind him has been Russ Wilson. He continues to be that efficient, has great players that you can target around him. Already mentioned Sutton, already mentioned Jerry Jeudy. Obviously, Tim Patrick out for this season. That kind of sucks. Aquaboonum is still very good. 2 very solid pass-catching running backs out of the backfield. Deep threats in cage, a very deep pass-catching core, and they're all very young and on the upside of their careers. So Russ Wilson, I'm very happy with the prices that I've gotten on him being drafted around the 7th and 8th round, mostly this season. Going after him has been Tom Brady. I've got 12.5% Tom Brady lineups. Any lineup, any draft that I've done where I've taken Mike Evans in the 2nd round, once that kind of falls to me, or if I get Leonard Fournette. If you watch the running backs video, my top drafted running backs video, again, up there in that corner, you'll notice that I have an awful lot of Leonard Fournette. If I draft Leonard Fournette and Chris Godwin falls to a value spot for me, I'm very likely going to draft Tom Brady. I think that this offense is going to keep humming along this year, just like it has the last 2. Tom Brady is going to get, Father Time's going to catch him at some point, but, Tom is still in the lead here. It would be a shock if Tom Brady did not approach, challenge, or exceed 5,000 yards passing. Also 35 plus touchdown passes, and very easy to correlate him with the pass catchers on the other side. I mentioned Evans. Obviously, we've had Godwin returning from his injury. Leonard Fournette with his 90 plus targets last year. That does not look to change this year. And then they throw Russell Gage into the mix as Gronkowski leaves and vacates targets. You know who the ball's going to get thrown to. It's very easy to partner him up with 1, 2, or possibly 3 of the offensive weapons around him. I have 12.5% of Tom Brady across all of the 100 drafts that I've done. go look down below in the pinned comment in the reply section. Go down there. There is a link, smizzle.tv/discord. Very easy to remember. Come join our Discord community. 5,400 plus of your best friends. DFS and fantasy drafts can be very isolating. We have VIP only rooms for people who are channel members here on the main channel on YouTube. Go to exclamation point if you want to, or no, go to youtube.com/zeidenfeld, and that will be my main YouTube page where I post all my DFS content. People are always there to discuss whatever it is that you want to discuss for daily fantasy any time of the day. Plenty of members in this. I think that you should join it too. VIP rooms for those of you who are channel members, or if you're subbed on Twitch. Josh Allen is my third highest allocated elite quarterback. Now look, he's the QB1. He's being drafted as the QB1. He has a draft price in the third round, ADP around 30 to 31 recently. It's kind of fluctuated. Started the season around 25. It's fallen down as we get closer to the season. Earlier in draft season, like May, quarterbacks go a little bit higher because people know less, but you know who the quarterback's going to be. Later in draft season, as the other positions start to solidify and value moves up the board at wide receiver and tight end and running back, you tend to see the quarterbacks fall a little bit. And Josh Allen's ADP has fallen. And as it's fallen into the third round, it's been much easier for me to click him onto my Steph Diggs lineups without having to reach for him when I get a back half of the first round draft pick. Diggs correlates very well with Josh Allen and not that difficult to get in the middle of the third rounds. You can get Gabriel Davis to go along with them. You can pay for Dawson Knox, who may or may not be overpriced. There's a lot of discussion on that because of the regression that he may see this year because he caught way too many touchdowns on way too few targets last season. So like he may not be as efficient. However, volume rules the day. And if he gets enough targets inside the 20 on this hyper potent Buffalo Bills offense, those touchdowns could be sticky from one year to the next. Anyway, Josh Allen is probably the highest floor, highest ceiling combo quarterback right now, which is why he is being drafted as the QB1. So I think that the late round QB way to draft that we've been drafting for like, I don't know, the last 6, 7, 8 years has shifted. JJ Zacharyson, friend of the show, who is the late round QB himself, has even said, look, it's become more of a mid-round QB because of the way that these elite quarterbacks are performing now, where they have a massive gap. It didn't used to be that big of a gap between over the course of a whole season from like the number 1 quarterback to the number 15 quarterback. That gap has changed because of the rules changes in the NFL, the way that teams are going more with spread offenses and throwing, and these combo quarterbacks who have mobility and ability around the goal line, as well as the ability to throw for 35 plus, 40 plus touchdowns. A 3-5-7 step drop quarterback who only throws 20 to 25 touchdowns and 3,800 yards is no longer all that viable on a week-to-week basis to start as your quarterback. You could stream them for sure, but in best ball, there's no transaction. So guys like Josh Allen have an awful lot of value, especially when you pair them with their pass catchers. He is my third highest drafted quarterback at 10.4%. Looking into the late round guys now, Zach Wilson, my highest drafted QB2, let's say. There are other guys that I like. A lot of the second year quarterbacks, third year quarterbacks, I've kind of focused on in this range. And Zach Wilson, with all of the work that the Jets have done about putting better talent around him. They spent draft capital on Garrett Wilson. I am a big believer in Elijah Moore. And as much as I think he's been a draft day value, and I get to my QB2 and Zach Wilson's sitting there at around pick 170 to pick 185, it's an easy click as a QB2 for me when the bye weeks kind of line up. So I've ended up with like 25% Zach Wilson. That's probably more than I wanted to have in this range. I don't know how much I'm going to grab moving forward from now until kickoff with the rest of the drafts that I'm going to do in the entirety of draft month, but I'm happy with my allocation here. I think that he's going to improve greatly over last season. Second year quarterbacks that don't have to deal with a coaching change, right? If they draft a quarterback, fire the head coach and everybody else, that's a bigger problem than if all those things stay static. Now, one of the anchors of that offensive line, it is a good offensive line in New York. Becton is now out for the season with a knee injury, so that's a bit of a ding on Zach Wilson. I obviously have a lot. I'm going to diversify in the next month, probably get some more Trevor Lawrence, probably get some more I don't know if I want Justin Fields. I probably don't have very much Justin Fields, but like I think that Zach Wilson has a very realistic chance at 4,000 plus yards, maybe 4,200 plus yards in this Jets offense with the amazing core of pass catchers that they have on the outside, and bringing two very good pass catching but mostly blocking tight ends in CJ Uzomah. Damn, why can't I remember the other one? In CJ Uzomah and Gronklin from Minnesota coming to New York, adding to the talent that he has to throw to. This is a guy who's going to challenge downfield. He could have some very big games this season. And he is my number one allocated QB2 right now. Number 2 is Daniel Jones. I guess I just like New York. If they can make it there, I suppose they can make it on my fantasy teams or something like that. I think that's how the song goes. 22.9% of my teams have Daniel Jones. A lot of my quarterbacks are tied to the correlation that I'm gathering before. So as much as Kadarius Toney has been a glaring value to me, we were drafting him when he was around 95 to 105 on ADP. He's climbed all the way into the mid 70s at this point. So I have a big value there. And then Daniel Jones was also being drafted by me from 160 to 175. So value on the outside and value at quarterback in what I believe is going to be an offense that takes a big step forward due to the coaching changes. Now, it's a sink or swim season for Daniel Jones. I fully acknowledge that. He has not been great. He fumbles a lot. He turns the ball over a bunch, of course, but like has ability with his legs, has a strong arm, and has enough talent on the outside and in the slot with, if you're factoring Wandale into that position. They spent a lot of money on Kenny Golladay. You know where the ball is going to go. And right now, Saquon is healthy after 2 freak injuries, 2 straight years in a row. This is an offense that has some things that it could possibly do with better schemes and better coaching. A better offensive philosophy could lead to Daniel Jones's best season as a pro. That's where my money is. That's what I'm betting on this season and season long as my QB2. You make your own choice. If you don't like Daniel Jones, there's plenty of other QB2s that you can choose from. Draft whomever you like. I'm just telling you who I have personally clicked. And Kirk Cousins is my third most drafted. You can see I'm very highly densely packed on Wilson and Jones. And then it drops all the way down to like 10.5% on Kirk Cousins. I have a beyond that 50% allocation on the first 2. The rest is kind of spread out among my QB2s. I've drafted double elite QB a lot this year, getting 2 guys in the top 12, usually getting Stafford, who I think is a big value around like the 10th round, or sorry, the 8th to 10th rounds if he falls. It's not difficult to get that value. And then I've got like a 5,000 yard, 40 plus or 35 plus touchdown threat there. But I think that Kirk Cousins is not all that far off. And in any lineup where I've gotten a top 5 pick and ended up with Justin Jefferson, it's not difficult to grab Kirk Cousins at his ADP. And then I have a ton of Irv Smith. So that correlation as a QB2 works very well. You don't have to rely on him every single week, but last season averaged 20.5 fantasy points per game in a very run-heavy, run-first offense in neutral game scripts and everything else. Now, this Vikings team projects to pass the ball more, be more pass-heavy in neutral game script and positive game script situations. So that means possibly a faster pace. That means more plays. That means more dropbacks. And as efficient as Kirk Cousins has been from a fantasy perspective, that means more fantasy points possibly per game. I like the value here with Kirk Cousins. He's probably where I'm going to settle in and get off of those Zach Wilson shares to kind of diversify a little bit more, as well as guys like Trevor Lawrence. I need to get more Tua shares before the season starts. But that's where I'm at right now. Let me know where you guys are, and look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.